Inventing a new product for the marketplace is the dream. It's the talk of every family party throughout the years, and it's the overnight success story that gets pitched to the public from every major media outlet in the world. Headlines read, "He created a better mousetrap. This is the best thing since sliced bread." Or my personal favorite, "She's designed the next big thing." Inventing a product seems to be the escape from all the world's pressures and the quickest way for everyone to make it. It's also an industry that seems to be recession-proof. Even if you're on a fixed income, unemployed, overemployed, retired, stay-at-home parent, the dream is still possible for you. Here lies the problem with that statement. It's not true. As much as you want to believe this, it just isn't. The bigger problem is that companies, consultants, and patent attorneys know that, and sadly, they'll use it to their advantage. My goal is not to cut down these organizations or steer you away from their assistance. My goal is to ensure that when you pursue an idea, it's for the right reasons. So tonight we're going to go over 5 questions that you should ask yourself before becoming an inventor in 2019.
People looking for fast scores. You know how many people here spent $800 on a course because it was going to happen fast?
Hey, it's Pat here, and in this video I want to share with you 10 lessons I've learned since inventing a physical product.
We're going to talk about perceived ownership. Steve, this is something that we talk about a lot. People that are kind of new to the game, they don't know what the heck we're talking about.
This means starting small without the risk of a big financial investment, but at the same time being ready to scale up big if the opportunity presents itself.
One of the things that really hurt Apple was after I left, John Sculley got a very serious disease. And that disease, I've seen other people get it too. It's the disease of thinking that a really great idea is 90% of the work.
Obsession is the thing that makes heroes.
You know, I've been a creative professional for 15 years now, but I'm no professional packaging designer.
Most people only pay attention to the final product of a successful entrepreneur. They say things like, "I can never be like them."
And the problem with that is that there's just a tremendous amount of craftsmanship in between a great idea and a great product.
The Invention Laboratory is a show that takes a deep dive into product development, inventions, and entrepreneurship. After spending over a decade in the industry, it's time to pass on that knowledge to anyone who's ever dreamed of bringing a product to life. The first question we're going to explore this evening is, why am I pursuing this idea? So question number 1, why am I pursuing this idea? Fame, money, not having a boss, they're all admirable goals, and they're a great byproduct of a successful business venture. However, there are some common misconceptions and too many pairs of rose-colored glasses being issued to the hopeful. Let's take a quick look at fame. In reality, most people are never going to know what you've done or accomplished. In fact, most initial inventions fade away, and then others build upon the work of their predecessors. There are companies and manufacturers that actually wait for products to fall outside of their utility and design patent protections just to pick up the ball and run with it themselves. Those same companies look at product life cycles, and they search tirelessly for ways to improve upon the product and ride the coattails of the original success. Think about the Slinky. It started as a metal spring coil that was supposed to be used to support and stabilize sensitive instruments aboard ships in rough seas. The gentleman knocked it off the table, and the rest was, well, history. Since then, there have been thousands of variations of the product bearing different names and made from different materials. Money is also something that most people look at. Creating a product, no matter how you choose to do it, will require more money than most people realize. Depending on your avenue of choice, it could be hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars, and they will all hinder on the goal that's truly important to you. So in that process, you need to ask yourself, do you want your product to have your company name on it? Do you want to create something new, novel, and non-obvious? Do you want to make an existing product 100 times better than it currently is? All of these things factor into the cost of bringing an idea to life. Another thing here is not having a boss. One of the biggest myths about becoming an inventor is that you'll no longer have to answer to anyone about what you do, how you do it, and most notably, when you choose to do it. Sorry. You're about to work harder than you ever have before at any 9-to-5 job in your life. Becoming a business owner or a self-employed entrepreneur is a surefire way to have to answer for everything you do. Your family depends on your ability to sell that product and pay the mortgage. The manufacturer is going to need the specs for that new package design by Friday. Your daughter's ballet recital is tonight, and you will not be attending. Your logistics coordinator just got off the phone with a truck driver who was supposed to deliver your shipment to Walmart in Atlanta, Georgia. His truck's broken down and he won't be able to make it there in time. The driver's an independent contractor that you hired to save a few dollars here on the shipment, and now you have to find another driver. The problem is you've paid in advance to get the deal that he was offering. Now your product is stuck in Tallahassee, Florida, and it's attached to a broken down rig, and it's going to have to sit unattended while the truck gets serviced at a local shop. Your shipment needs to arrive by midnight tomorrow at Walmart, or they're going to cancel the order and fill that end cap with another product from a more reliable source. Do you get the picture? Running a business is hard, and even if you aren't directly reporting to a boss, the load is heavy on your shoulders to provide an income for hundreds of people. Everyone from the stock boy at Walmart that got his shift canceled because your shipment didn't arrive, to that nice administrative assistant that you hired to screen your emails and schedule your day. Knowing why you want to pursue an idea is more important than creating the idea itself. Your why has to be strong enough to carry you through the days that beat you to your knees. For a decade, I asked inventors that question, why? And if I got any of those three answers above here, with no other backing, I'd refuse to work with them. The hardest part of my old job was explaining that using our company and going through our process was not for them. Most were offended and some were even outraged, and I'd be lying if I said that my colleagues agreed with my thought process. There were even some that would venture to say that I was wrong for depriving people of the opportunity to try. Over the years, I've seen couples divorce, families go bankrupt, people go into tremendous amounts of unnecessary debt just to pursue their ideas. So do yourself a favor and have a solid reason to become an inventor before you take the plunge. Realistically, you can make $40K a year working at a grocery store. Set your goals and decide if product development or inventing is the best way for you to achieve them. The second question we're going to look at is, what is my plan after the product is in my hands? Now you've created a product. Now what? There are so many ways to bring products to market. Traditional product development, licensing, private label product development, franchising, etc. Do you want to be in charge of all those moving parts of the business? Manufacturing, distribution, customer service, legal? Or would you rather give control or operating power to a large company and just receive royalties for the use of your product? Is your goal to create a business around selling any product as long as it has your name on it? Would you rather stand behind a trusted name in the industry and enjoy that and sell those products because you believe in them without having to do any of that manufacturing? Having an understanding of how much work is needed is only a piece of the puzzle. The larger issue is getting it in front of someone who can actually make a decision on the product's future. You need to have an idea of who that someone is, how they can help you achieve your end goal. You can build the greatest products in the world, but it won't matter if you can't get anyone to look at it. Know your target audience, set multiple backup plans. The chance of the first company accepting your product is extremely rare. If you're choosing to be judge and jury of your company or product, your focus should be on which manufacturers have the capability to make your product in large quantities. Any company can make one-off prototypes. It takes serious infrastructure to mass produce a product and provide the quality new and exciting brands need. The first product off that assembly line needs to look exactly like the 15,000th off that assembly line. Another thing you need to keep in mind here, and a question you should ask yourself as a brand new inventor, is how do I protect my idea? Confidentiality has been the concern of every inventor since the beginning of time. We've heard stories of people being beat to the patent office by months, weeks, hours, or minutes, depending on who you're speaking with. Most people, though, neglect to accept that more than 75% of all products available today are available on the market without any patent protection. Why? Simple. Money. Putting money into patents is a risky endeavor for several reasons. Let's start with some of the basics. First thing, most products have life cycles. The popularity of your products can last anywhere between a few weeks and a few decades. Unfortunately, no one knows how long you'll get to ride the lightning. Your product could be seasonal and only gain traction during certain holidays or seasons of the year, depending on the industry you chose to enter. Another thing is patents aren't really for the inventor. That's contrary to what most people believe, but patents very rarely do anything positive in the hands of the original creator. Again, this is a money issue. Defending a patent in court can range from tens of thousands of dollars to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Where patents hold weight is in the hands of a manufacturer or parent company of the product. Large companies allocate resources every year to defend the products that hold pieces of their market share. Outside of that, patents are merely mantle pieces that collect dust and serve as a conversation starter over Thanksgiving. Now, speaking of Thanksgiving, everybody has been to a Thanksgiving dinner where Cousin Steve will shout out, I got a patent for less than $100. Why should I pay an attorney thousands? Have you ever heard anybody say that? If I were to speak to 20 people in a day about their idea and they were already working on it, I would hear this from more than 50% of them. Let's start with a clarification. They did not get a patent for less than $100. And perhaps even worse, they've started a clock on their project that no one bothered to explain to them. What they're referring to is a provisional application for patent. This is a process that the USPTO, the United States Patent and Trademark Office, created to allow you to plant your flag in the ground as the originator. It's an excellent tool when it's used properly. The problem is that most people file this status way too early. The expectation here upon filing is that within 12 to 18 months of the receipt of that date, you intend on filing a full utility patent in its place. This will give you that origination date 12 months prior to the product completion, and it will allow you the time you need to make changes, adjustments, or revisions to your original design during the manufacturing or prototyping process. There are additional issues here as well. If you try to enforce your provisional application at a later date, you obviously have attained your utility patent at that point, just to prove that your new novel and non-obvious product was the original, they are going to check the tape. This is where things will immediately start to fall apart. Because most people file this status too early, it hasn't been completely thought out, and in turn, very little information is actually attached to the filing receipt at the USPTO. Those things are never actually opened when you file it. It just gives you that benchmark and that placeholder. People will often file a few paragraphs about their idea and some overarching general statements, and they provide no proof of concept. If there's no proof of concept, proof that you have a viable solution to a proposed problem, along with 3D models or sketches, photos, diagrams, or testing materials, you're dead in the water. It's something that's so disheartening because people do it every day and companies continue to charge them exorbitant fees to go through this process. It's a $65 filing fee to go to the USPTO, and it's a very simple process that companies are taking advantage of at this point, unfortunately. Now, let's look at another scenario. In this next scenario, you did everything right. You filed a patent properly and you secured your place at the table. However, to save a few dollars, you opted to file a design patent. Most people can see where I'm going with this, but let's play it out anyway. A year and a half into pitching your idea to a company after company after company, you see your product in the market, and you are heartbroken. You call the company or consultant or attorney you were working with, and you berate them for stealing your idea and selling your idea. Doing their due diligence, knowing that wasn't the case, they run out to the store and they buy the said stolen product. They bring it in-house for examination. This is what professionals do before they start throwing around accusations of theft to large manufacturers and brands. After a closer look, they realize a few things. First, the product is made of different materials. Second, the product solves the same issue for the end consumer, but it provides additional features that your model didn't have. Even the way it's attached to the wall stud is different. They utilized a clamp instead of an adhesive material. Actually, now that we're looking at this, the only two things that overlap with your patent is the color and the size, and even that isn't quite the same. Also, you have a design patent. Design patents only cover the way a product looks, not how it functions. You would need a utility patent to cover functionality. There are so many variables when it comes to the patent protection process. A friend, and a very good friend, gave me the best advice on this topic. Patent protection is important, but only at the right time. If you make a decision to pursue your invention idea or product, you can do so safely with a confidentiality agreement between the parties or a non-disclosure agreement between the inventor and the company. Mailing it to yourself or the poor man's patent isn't advisable, not because it's not enforceable, but simply because someone can find that envelope and open it without your consent. When and if you do decide to file a patent, remember that filing a patent is 100% optional. Be sure that you have all the necessary information, and you do so under the care of a patent attorney, professional engineer, and/or a qualified consultant. If you decide to head the licensing route, you can even try your best to include the protections in the terms of the agreement. If you don't have to pay for it, why should you? The fourth question we're going to consider here is, do I have a support system? For those of you that are used to walking this road alone, please take a moment and consider this question. As an advocate of early entrepreneurial endeavors and building businesses with little to no assistance, I know what it's like not to want any other hands in your cookie jar. That being said, bringing an idea to life is really, really hard. It's even harder if you don't surround yourself with like-minded people that will support your dream. Throughout your journey, you'll encounter people that will criticize you at every turn out of spite or jealousy or genuine concern for your well-being. The only criticism that you should welcome is the latter. Constructive criticism is the greatest and hardest thing to swallow. Learning to differentiate between qualified constructive criticism and unqualified constructive criticism is the difference between success and failure early on. Someone who's close to you, trying to protect you, all while giving you good advice, is a nearly impossible task. You're going to be hard-pressed to find a friend or family member that'll understand that you absolutely need to spend $5,000 on a professional designer and somehow manage to retain the ability to overlook the fact that your car is on its last legs. Choose your team wisely, and don't be afraid to change the line every once in a while. If one of your members is slacking, you got to sit them and put someone in the game that reminds you consistently of your why. The hardest part is when people in your household can't get behind the risk. Did I forget to mention that? Yes. Being an inventor is incredibly risky. You can do 100% of the things correctly and still fail. This invention could change your life. I love when people use that line as a positive selling point, but it's when you learn that it's equally a negative that you're ready to get started. The last question we're going to look at is, what if I fail? Just like Thanos in the Avengers series, failure is inevitable. You will absolutely 100%, no questions asked, fail at some point in this process. How you handle that failure is up to you. I've worked with hundreds of inventors that have done just the research on their project and they've thrown in the towel. They encountered one competitive product and they folded like a deck of cards. Now, don't get me wrong, there's definitely a time when you should cut and run, but it's certainly not at the first sign of resistance. Over the next few months, I will cover a process that you can do on your own to determine whether or not you should even consider pursuing an idea. And please realize, some people should not be inventors. But more people should not invent that particular product in that particular way. There are thousands of ways to solve the same issue, and usually only a few ways to get it right. So I ask again, what if you fail? Good. Reevaluate your approach, reinforce your why, and get to work. As Edison said, I've not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work.